Hello, welcome to the Crafty Oasis. This is Veronica. I just wanted to share a behind the scenes day in the life of when I was working on my first budgeting workshop. This budgeting workshop took place at the end of May in the library, and this one was different because the budgeting workshop and workbook are actually geared toward young adults and adults that are either establishing their independence for the first time or are reestablishing it. So what made this group unique was that they were middle schoolers. And because this can seem far off for middle schoolers or most middle schoolers, I was trying to think of ways to make it more engaging. So what I ended up doing was I made Crafty Cash, which was, it reminded me of when I was in 4th grade and I had a teacher that she had a treasure chest. And so at the time, she had a cat named Babs, and so she had these Babs bucks. And so they were incentives for us to behave or participate. And then as you earned these Babs bucks, you could cash them in for something from the treasure chest. So I carried that same idea over into my budgeting workshop, especially since, again, it was for middle schoolers this time. So I created Crafty Cash, and I just did denominations of 1s, 5s, 10s, and 20s. And then I started out each day. So the workshop was a total of 4 weeks. Each week was 1 hour-long session. So it ended up being 4-hour-long sessions. So each day that student was there, they got paid, quote unquote, $35. So that was kind of like their job. In addition to the pay that they got for their job, they also got paid a bonus of $1 every time they participated, engaged, were respectful, or helpful toward another student. This really helped because they were doing this after school. We were in a common room in the library that also acts as the chill space. And so it wasn't like we had our private space to do this. We didn't have I didn't have extremely high engagement because of that, and I completely understand. It was near the end of the school year, it was after school, so if some of these kids didn't want to participate, they didn't have to, and that was okay. But for the kids that chose to participate, the incentives really helped. And so in this video, what I'm doing is I'm making the cash, and I'm also printing out the worksheets. So I had to condense down the entire workbook and workshop, which the workshop is truly intended for a 4 to 6 hour actual workshop. One day where we have a lunch or a dinner for the participants as they're completing it, so we can just hyper focus on that and then move forward, and hopefully they can implement what they've done. So I had to condense this 6-hour workshop into 4-hour-long sessions. And so that required me to reverse engineer and say, okay, I had to create an outline anyway that I submitted to the library probably, I want to say 2 or 3 months in advance when they asked me about doing this and we had talked about it. So I reverse engineered that. From there, I had to select a few topics and really understand that I'm not going to be able to cover all of this material, but really what's the crux, what's the most important thing from that section or that chapter. And so I'm also printing out the workshops for each week here, and I like a more intimate group when I'm doing things live in person. So I capped the workshop at 15 students. So I made 15 copies of each workshop worksheet. And then you'll also see that we're cutting out the cash. So I do have a Cricut, but as far as print and cut, it always ends up being an effort and frustration for me. And so it just makes more sense for me to print the Crafty Cash or whatever I'm working on and then cut it out by hand rather than trying to set it up. And then also you'll notice all 3 of my children are in here. I work from home. we homeschool. I'm with them like almost all the time, and I love that they're around me as much as they are, because they are my life and my purpose. So my son's just being silly right here. And in addition to having 3 children that I'm home with most of the time, we also have a dog, and that's what we're looking at right here. My daughter wanted her to be in the video, so she's making an appearance. And I never believed about how dogs would nudge your computer or nudge your elbow or knock things off for attention until after we had our own dog. She absolutely does that. Sometimes I go to the couch and work on my laptop or a tablet, and she'll knock my computer off or the tablet and just be insistent. And most of the time, probably while recording this very video, she's at our feet under the table or right behind us by the sliding door. And so, of course, she's there as well. But my daughter just wanted to share that. So we're also finishing up the worksheets here. I would like to have everything prepped ahead of time. So for this one, this was in preparation of the very first week. So I just had the worksheets printed for that week. That way I could also gauge, okay, this is the outline for the workshop, but what did we actually accomplish? And so where do I need to pick up next week? So I wanted to save paper and resources by not printing out until the day before, the day of, when I knew truly where we were. And the worksheets are coming from my workbook that I created as well. This was all a labor of love, proudly. I did not use AI. It just stemmed from my daughter, who is a teenager and was asking about questions regarding essentially how she establishes her independence with moving out and credit. And so that spurred me just furiously writing a workbook over the course of months, starting in January, maybe even December actually of last year. And I initially thought, why am I doing this? But then I still went with the muse, and I just continued writing my workbook, and it just flowed out of me, out of my spirit, from my person. I did research, but I also wrote it through the lens of my own experience when I was first establishing my independence all those years ago, moving out on my own. And I did have a great support network of my parents and siblings and other people that I could talk to and ask questions about. But I also see the value in having something concise like this, especially for people who may not have those resources. So it is wonderful to share these resources with the community, and this is something I may have for sale to the general public as well in the future. But if you found this valuable, please save and share, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.